The dinner that never ended. The house stood at the edge of Black Hollow Road, half hidden behind dead oak trees that never seemed to move even when the wind did. Locals called it the Silent House, though no one could remember when they first started calling it that. Some said it was because no birds flew over it. Others said it was because people who lived there never stayed long enough to make noise. When Evelyn Carter and her daughter Lila moved in, they didn't know any of that. They only knew the rent was cheap. Too cheap for a 2-story house with wide windows, creaking wooden floors, and a kitchen that looked untouched by time. Evelyn had just gone through a painful divorce. She needed silence, space, and a fresh start. Lila, only 12, needed stability more than anything else. So when the real estate agent smiled too much while handing over the keys and said, "It's a peaceful place," Evelyn didn't question it. She should have. Night 1. The first evening felt normal. Evelyn unpacked boxes while Lila explored the upstairs rooms. The air inside the house was oddly cold, even though it was summer outside. Every room had a faint smell of burnt sugar and old wood. At exactly 9:47 p.m., the lights flickered. Lila called from upstairs, "Mom, the dining room light just turned on." Evelyn frowned. Must be the wiring. But when she reached the dining room, she froze. The table was no longer empty. A family sat around it. A man in a stiff gray suit, a woman with hollow cheeks, 2 children, 1 boy, 1 girl, both sitting perfectly still, staring at their plates, and food was steaming on the table. Not fresh food, rotting food. Evelyn screamed, but the moment she blinked, they were gone. Only the empty table remained, except for one thing, a single spoon still moving slightly like someone had just dropped it. Night 2. Evelyn tried to convince herself it was stress, hallucination, exhaustion, divorce trauma, but Lila didn't sleep. "I saw them too," she whispered. Evelyn's stomach tightened. "You're just scared, honey." "No," Lila said quietly. "They were real. The little girl looked at me." That night they stayed in the same room with the lights on. At 9:47 p.m., the lights flickered again. And this time, the smell came first. Burnt meat, overcooked vegetables, something metallic underneath it. The dining room door slowly opened on its own. Evelyn didn't want to look, but she did. The ghost family was there again, but this time they were moving. Slow, unnatural movements, like a broken film replaying itself. The father lifted a fork. The mother poured water into a glass. The children laughed, but no sound came out. Then the father suddenly stopped. His head turned slowly, and he looked directly at Evelyn, not through her, at her. His lips moved. "Don't eat with us," he whispered. And then everything shattered into darkness. Night 3. Evelyn called the landlord the next morning. The number was disconnected. She tried the real estate agency. No record existed of her rental agreement. Even the house listing was gone. It was like the house had never been rented at all. Lila started drawing pictures. All of them showed the same thing: a dining table, a family, and a shadow standing behind them with no face. That night, Evelyn locked every door. She even nailed the dining room shut. But at 9:47 p.m., the nails fell out by themselves. The door opened, and the dinner began again. The pattern. Evelyn started noticing something terrifying. The ghost family wasn't just repeating a dinner, they were reliving a final moment. Every night the scene changed slightly. Night 1, confusion. Night 2, awareness. Night 3, fear. Night 4, something worse was coming. Lila whispered, "Mom, I think they died here." Evelyn already knew, but she didn't know how. Night 4. The house felt alive. Walls creaked like breathing lungs. The floorboards pulsed slightly under their feet. At exactly 9:47 p.m., Lila grabbed Evelyn's hand tightly. "I don't want to see it tonight," she whispered, but the house didn't care. The dining room appeared darker than usual. The ghost family was already seated, but now there was an empty chair, a fifth chair, waiting. The mother ghost suddenly stood up. Her face was no longer calm. It was twisted in horror. She pointed at Lila and screamed without sound. The father ghost began shaking violently, like he was remembering something painful. Then, slowly, all four ghosts turned toward the empty chair, and something invisible sat down. The candles on the table lit themselves, and the food began to rot in real time. Evelyn felt her stomach turn because she finally understood. This wasn't a memory. It was a cycle, a loop. Something was forcing them to relive their last dinner over and over, waiting for someone new to join. The truth begins to show. Lila started bleeding from her nose at night, not from injury, from fear. She began whispering things she never learned. "This house remembers," she said. "They didn't die at dinner," she added once. "They were invited." Evelyn held her daughter tightly, realizing the worst fear wasn't the ghosts. It was the house itself. Night 5. The house changed again. Windows disappeared. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, and the smell of food grew stronger. At 9:47 p.m., Evelyn refused to move, but Lila slowly walked downstairs on her own. "Lila!" Evelyn screamed, but her voice sounded distant, like the house was swallowing it. Lila entered the dining room. The ghost family was smiling now, waiting. The empty chair pulsed with darkness. Evelyn ran after her, but the hallway kept extending. The door kept moving further away. The house was stopping her, trapping her. The invitation. Inside the dining room, Lila sat down at the empty chair. Immediately, the ghosts froze. The mother ghost smiled for the first time and spoke aloud. This time, it's complete. Evelyn finally broke into the room. "Lila, no!" But it was too late. The candles blew out. Everything went silent. Then the father ghost stood up, slowly walked to Lila, and placed a hand on her head. "Now you remember." And suddenly, Lila screamed, not in fear, but in recognition. Images flooded her mind. The house wasn't just haunted, it was a trap, a place where families were invited to replace the previous ones. The ghost family was not the first. They were the last survivors of the last dinner, and now they were passing the curse forward. The ending. Evelyn reached for Lila, but the house made one final decision. The lights flickered, and Evelyn stopped moving, frozen, stuck in time, as Lila slowly looked at her mother with empty eyes. "I remember now," she whispered. The ghost family stood up together, and for the first time, they smiled like they were free. The father ghost looked at Evelyn. "Your turn comes next." The candles reignited, the table reset, and at 9:47 p.m., a new family arrived at the house outside Black Hollow Road, and the dinner began again. Final scene. The house stood silent once more, waiting, breathing, patient, because it always had room for